The throne hall of the Luminara Empire shimmered with a soft glow as dawnlight filtered through the crystalline dome overhead. The chamber, vast enough to hold an entire human warship, hummed with the faint resonance of ancient power cores buried deep within the palace foundations. Queen Aravel sat upon her elevated throne, her posture straight and dignified, her silver mantle cascading over the polished stone steps. Rows of royal guards lined the hall, their armor plates glinting faintly with a shifting iridescence. The queen waited for the arrival of the delegation that had been summoned from the frontier, a group that carried word of a recent battle at the border between Luminara, space and human territory. The queen had heard many things about the conflicts that had shaped the last 2 decades. Humans, once considered too primitive to pose any real challenge, had risen sharply in military strength. The Luminara Empire, though ancient and powerful, had suffered unexpected losses against them. Their agility, their unpredictable tactics, and above all their relentless resolve had forced even the most confident alien civilizations to reconsider old assumptions. Today, reports would arrive about what had occurred during a recent skirmish near the Nebula Rift. The queen had sensed tension within her council, and she prepared herself for the gravity of the message. The doors slid open with a calm whisper. A group of Luminara officers approached, their footsteps synchronized and quiet. Leading them was Commander Rilan, a tall figure with angular features and deep violet eyes. He halted at the base of the throne and bowed with solemn respect. The queen gave a gentle nod, granting him permission to speak. The hall fell silent except for the faint hum of the crystal lights Commander Rilan lifted at daylight. His voice carried clearly through the hall. He began his briefing, describing how their forward base had come under assault. The human forces, though smaller in number, had moved with remarkable precision. They had cut through several defensive layers with unexpected efficiency. When Rilan mentioned the human unit that had spearheaded the assault, the queen listened attentively. Though her expression remained calm, then Rilan spoke. The name that froze her mind, the name of the human soldier. She did not repeat it. She did not move. Something inside her went still. The hall watched her, sensing the change in her composure. Her expression remained neutral, yet the energy around her throne seemed to freeze in the air. It was a name she had heard once in her life, long ago, in a moment she had quietly buried. She had hoped never to hear it again. Rilan continued speaking, unaware of the queen's internal turmoil. He described how the human soldier had moved alone during the final phase of the battle, how he had dismantled an entire squad of elite Luminara guards, and how he had forced their base commander into unconditional retreat. Rilan emphasized that the human had not acted with cruelty. He had spared wounded enemies when he could have ended them. He had refused to fire upon civilians. He had even protected a Luminara medical transport that had strayed into combat range. His actions had shocked both sides. The queen finally raised a hand. Rilan stopped speaking at once. Her voice was soft when she spoke. She asked for confirmation of the name. Rilan glanced at his tablet and nodded. The queen closed her eyes, as if absorbing the weight of the reality before her. The hall remained silent, for none dared interrupt her thoughts. When she opened her eyes again, she instructed Rilan to resume the report. Her tone had regained its composure, yet a faint edge of tension lingered beneath it. Rilan explained that the human soldier had eventually withdrawn with his unit, leaving no unnecessary destruction behind. The Luminara scouts had attempted to track him, but he had vanished into the nebula field that shielded the human retreat. His whereabouts were unknown. The queen dismissed the officers. When the hall emptied, she remained alone with her thoughts. The name echoed in her mind. She remembered a distant past, a time before she had taken the throne, a time when she had walked among other worlds as a young envoy. During that period, She had once encountered a human youth on a neutral trading station. Their meeting had been brief, but it had changed her perception of a species that had seemed frail and inexperienced. She had remembered his determination, his strong sense of justice, and the look in his eyes when he had stood up to a group of smugglers who threatened innocent workers. She had never learned what became of him. She had never expected him to become a soldier known across star systems. The Queen stood from her throne and walked toward the balcony that overlooked the capital city. The metropolis stretched out in every direction, a sea of glowing spires and floating platforms. The sky shimmered with ribbons of pale blue energy. Despite its beauty, the Queen sensed a growing tension across the empire. Her people were watching the humans with both fear and admiration. The empire's scholars spoke with increasing interest about human adaptability. The military whispered about the threat posed by human willpower. Some elders insisted that the empire needed to reconsider its relationship with the humans before it was too late. For the Queen, all of this centered around one name. She knew that if he had survived, if he had risen through the human ranks, then the tide of history was shifting faster than anyone understood. Over the next weeks, the Queen summoned her generals, advisors, and diplomats. She demanded a complete record of all human military activities in the last 15 years. She wanted reports on any soldier whose actions had shaped battles in the frontier regions. She wished to understand how this one individual had risen from obscurity to become a pivotal figure in the conflict. The Empire's analysts brought her mountains of data. She studied each document carefully. She learned that the human soldier had grown up in a small settlement on a distant colony. He had joined the human forces not out of ambition, but out of duty. He had reportedly seen his home threatened by raiders and vowed to protect others from suffering the same fate. His early military service had been unremarkable, but over time he had exhibited a pattern of decisions that set him apart. He saved lives even during chaotic missions. He challenged orders he believed were unjust. He pushed himself into impossible situations to shield others. His record spoke of courage, discipline, and unwavering conviction. What shocked the Queen most was how many alien species respected him. Some alien warriors who had faced him in battle spoke of him with a mixture of awe and disbelief. They claimed that he fought not for conquest, but for peace. He risked himself to prevent needless bloodshed. This was not the behavior of a ruthless soldier. This was the behavior of someone driven by ideals. The Queen felt a growing ache in her heart as she read more. She wondered whether the youth she had met long ago had always carried such potential. She remembered the brief conversation they had shared at the trading station. He had spoken of wanting to understand the universe. He had spoken of wanting to protect people. She had felt an unusual connection in that single encounter. Yet fate had taken them in separate directions. As days turned into weeks, the Queen began requesting live accounts from soldiers who had encountered him. Many described his remarkable abilities. Some spoke of his uncanny awareness in battle. Others mentioned how he seemed to predict enemy movements before they occurred. One report described how he turned the tide of a hopeless engagement by coordinating injured soldiers and rallying them to defend their position against overwhelming odds. Yet all of these reports shared one consistent detail. He refused cruelty. Even in the darkest battles, he sought to prevent suffering. The Queen felt the weight of responsibility settling upon her. She understood that her empire stood at a crossroads. If they continued treating humans as adversaries, they would face a conflict unlike any they had known. But if they acknowledged the value of this extraordinary soldier, perhaps there was still a path to peace. One evening, she summoned her closest advisor, a calm and wise elder named Turan. He approached the balcony where she stood silently, watching the horizon. She asked him whether he believed a single human could alter the future of two civilizations. Toran replied that sometimes the universe revealed its truth through a single individual. He reminded her that the empire had once been forged by one visionary leader. He argued that it was not impossible for another individual, even from a different species, to shift the course of history. The queen considered his words carefully. She then revealed to him the truth about her past encounter with the human. She confessed that the name had struck her with such force because it belonged to the same youth she had met long ago. Toran listened without judgment. He assured her that personal knowledge did not weaken her role as queen. Rather, it gave her a rare vantage point. She understood the human soldier not only through reports, but through memory. After Toran departed, the queen reflected on her next steps. She felt a sense of urgency growing. She decided that the empire must initiate a diplomatic mission. They needed to find this human soldier. They needed to open a channel of communication. She believed he could serve as a bridge between their peoples. She issued a royal decree. A selection of elite diplomats, scholars, and envoys would travel to human space. Their mission was to locate the soldier and present the possibility of dialogue. The queen hoped that he would understand the importance of their request. But